Okay, nitrogen cycle then. Atmospheric nitrogen, triple bonded, inert, very difficult to do anything with, so we need to have some kind of way of getting that nitrogen into the soil. So, one way that you can get it into the soil is through plants that have bacteria, which are nitrogen fixing bacteria in rhizomes. So Rhizobium does nitrogen fixation, and that effectively adds hydrogen to it, so that makes it into a form that can now be used by the nitrifying bacteria and that forms nitrite, and the nitrifying bacteria can also do that to nitrate. The nitrates can then be actively transported into the roots of a plant that doesn't have rhizobium in it, and that nitrate can then get incorporated into things like DNA, proteins. So it's transported through the xylem vessel, so it's actively transported into the root hair cells. That allows water to move in by osmosis. It's transported through the xylem tissue and delivered to all the cells that are carrying out cell division to make DNA, to make proteins, etc. Now, the next thing that will happen is that that will get eaten by an animal. And that animal will then do things like poo and wee. And if it poos and wees, then that will get broken down by a different type of bacterium. So this is poo and wee. Okay, so that gets basically into the ground. That's going to go through ammonification. So this is really a cycle within a cycle, because you've got your nitrogen fixation, and then this ammonification basically takes things like urea, which contains a source of nitrogen, organic nitrogen, so we'll call that organic nitrogen, and ammonifying bacteria convert the urea into ammonia and ammonium. So that's the cycle within the cycle. So you have your organic nitrogen, ammonification by ammonifying bacteria, to your ammonia and ammonium, which is then undergoes nitrifying bacteria to nitrite to nitrate, gets taken up by the plants. The plants could also die, so that could end up death and decay. You could also add in there about your saprobionts, because those are your bacteria that are going to break down the large organic molecules into smaller ones. So those are your decomposer bacteria. The other way of continuing this cycle is how do we get to that nitrogen back up in there. So effectively what can happen is in waterlogged soils, you can take the oxygen off that nitrate, and instead of giving the nitrate to the plants, it goes to bacteria, which are called the denitrifying bacteria, and that then ends up back as atmospheric nitrogen. There are other ways of fixing the nitrogen. That can be done by free bacteria in the soil as well, not just by the trapped ones in these root nodules of plants like clover. Can also do nitrogen fixation, and you can also have a lightning bolt that can cause fixation of nitrogen as well. Okay, so it's a cycle. So we have this cycle, and then within that you've also got this cycle. So it's multifaceted cycles. Is that okay? Any questions on any of that? That make sense?